As Bitcoin once again reminds us who is king and who runs this market, the question I see all around the good old social media venues is the bull market over? Well, I'm not going to waste your time with this. No, it's not over. Silliness. Come on. We've been talking about this for a while now. We are looking for a higher low at some point after going on this lovely run to, in fact, new all-time highs. Very normal stuff, all good, but will change a bit of the alt analysis that we have been putting out over the past few days, of which actually all of those analyses have hit their first targets. Now we're seeing a pullback in concert with the market. This is all well and good, but we should prepare for the next move right here. So first and foremost, I want to address this situation right here on the charts. Remember, Bitcoin went from $40,000 all the way to new all-time highs at just above $67,000 right here. And we did not set in a higher low along the way. And of course, in order to have a confirmed trend reversal, we need both higher highs, which we certainly have, and also higher lows as well. And at this point, I do believe that Bitcoin is going to be sitting in that higher low, or at least that is my main disposition coming into today after this nice little pullback. And remember, we did speak about this last week on the last video that I did specifically for Bitcoin. And in this case, we are now seeing it start to come to fruition here. And again, all well and good for the long term. All higher term timeframes still very much bullish, but yes, we certainly can afford a pullback here. Okay, I would also like to remind myself to talk about this as well. We spoke about this the last time, and if you want a literal reason as to what just happened in the last, I suppose like 4 or 5 hours here, well, it would be this. I want to reference once again the global leverage ratio. Market's too over leveraged. I tweeted out a tweet, I think about 4 or 5 days ago, highlighting this and also the open interest that you see down here. Let me explain why this is important while I remove my face. First, with the open interest, this represents the open amount of contracts on leveraged positions. Why is that relevant? Leveraged positions are at the mercy of the market because they can be what's called liquidated. And what does that essentially mean? If price action goes against you too much, well, the market can force you out of your position, as you will have some sort of margin requirement in order to hold that position. And therefore, if you are, quote unquote long, then you will be forced to sell, and vice versa for if you are short. Anyways, we saw the highest level of open interest ever in Bitcoin's history ever just a few days ago, and now it is starting to come down. In fact, this chart is from the last day of history, because I wanted to focus it in on this. And the reason for that is because, well, we can, follow up on this, obviously, if you weren't following on Twitter, which is all good. And what do we have over here with the global leverage ratio? As I put my face back on, whoops, hey, that's not my face. There we go. There it is. Bucket hat Wednesday, isn't it? Anyways, global leverage ratio, which essentially represents the ratio between spot positions and leveraged positions, is also not necessarily on new all-time highs, but so close to our prior high that that you might as well say that, and very comparable to all of the other major precipices on major moves in price action that we've seen over the past year or so. Namely, the past one here in early September on that $10,000 move from about 53 all the way down to $40,000 territory. The time before that was, of course, late July on the bear trap, going from 40,000 to, well, 53,000, or sorry, 30,000 to 53,000. And then, of course, the time before that was your April 16th prior all-time high before shattering down. And then the time before that was actually almost 1 year ago, as Bitcoin did essentially consolidate below the prior all-time highs, but first having about a 30% sell-off. With all of this in mind, I do look at this as, well, a bit of a leverage washing. We have to spank those old over-leveraged people. It's no secret that this market offers up 100x leverage, which is insane, absolutely insane. And of course, in order for this to be considered a quote-unquote healthy run, you do kind of want to see it more or less spot-led. It's not a critical condition, but it certainly helps with the overall analysis. And this is why we're kind of suggesting a bit of caution with specific conditions initiated below a little bit over $60,000, as price action did break that in the early morning hours. So that was the essential technical condition that then solidified and made these actionable right here. So it's a good time to follow up on this now. Let's go into the actual charts themselves as I bring up this baby right here. And so the question is, what now? Well, first things first, short term, very likely to bounce. As we did play out about a almost $4,500 move in the day thus far. But more importantly with this, when you come down to a level like this after that sort of move, very likely to bounce first. We do see a major volume spike up here on the 4 hour. Whenever I see something like that, probably going to denote at the very least a bit of a local low. How high can Bitcoin go? It can go, realistically it can go wherever it wants, of course, but as long as Bitcoin is now below, let's call it $62,000, which I'll put on my drawing tools right here. Actually, this is not, this blue box, not representative of $62,000. Let's go mark it off right around here, this nice wick. And this is essentially what I'm going off of. This is essentially the beginning of the sell-off realistically. As long as we are below that level, I am, looking for bounces to get sold into and Bitcoin to work its way lower. How low can we go? Well, there's a couple areas of interest here, obviously. The first one we're actually on as of this moment in time. So if we are going to experience, something resembling a bit of a bear trap, what we'd expect is that over the next 48 hours, we'd expect Bitcoin to pop back up above that $62,000 level and close there. If that happens, all's well and good. We can talk about Moonboy targets yet again. And we can even address that at the end of this video as well, of which, why not, ma'am? Why not? Anyways, until that happens though, we do have the etchings of a short-term downtrend. Again, higher term timeframes not in any way, shape, or form indicative of a downtrend. And we do have a technical target here as well based off of this out of the head and shoulders. Now, I think a lot of people are getting rather bearish off this as I do kind of peruse around crypto Twitter, which is a great place to be. It actually is a pretty damn cool place to be. But in this case right here, do we have a technical target down to about $55,000? Yes, I do see some people, or I see a lot of people actually talking about bull market over, and I see a lot of people talking about sub $50,000. Is that possible? Yes, but here's the thing: I'd first and foremost give it a chance to bounce and very likely put in a higher low as we postulated last week, somewhere around $55,000. That is about where the 382 Fibonacci retracement is. Actually, technically speaking, 55,650. And I'm saying technically, not tentacles. read some good comments on that. Had a good laugh off that. Yeah, I slur my words sometimes. It's just the old coffee there. That's all. Anyways, again, on this pullback, I'm looking first and foremost for a higher low. So this is kind of where I'll be looking towards first. You can also see that the daily 55 exponential average will also be aligning within that territory over the next few days here, very likely. Why is that important? Well, you do look in your bullish trends or just in your trending movements for corrections into, if you're in an uptrend, higher lows around that major moving average, just as a general rule. And then, we'll come back after that. But again, short-term bouncy, all is well and good. $62,000 territory is where I would start to say, hey, this is not just looking like a bear trap. This is our next higher low right here. And we can start to talk about upside targets yet again. Until that happens, though, I do believe that short-term bounces likely get sold into. We do work our way lower. The main message that I want to have in a video like this is that no, I do not believe that Bitcoin is entering into a bear market or is reversing to hell here. Could we extend targets to the downside over time? Perhaps yes, but I want to see the result first and foremost. Then one last thing here before we get into some more fun stuff, which I want to address the daily PMARP. So the PMARP is a measurement of, I believe I'm running a 20 length on a VWMA. So what is it telling you? Well, it is telling you this. It's telling you how far away price action is from this moving average and then ranking it into a percentile format over the past, I think, 100 iterations here. Anyways, do you need to understand that? No. What you need to understand is that when it comes into this green territory right here, that has marked off plenty of local lows in Bitcoin's past about 6 months, actually, or if you really want to go back throughout the dawn of time, actually all macro lows have been put in on a read like that. They don't have to be macro lows, but all macro lows do share that reading, and all major lows do share that reading as well. For example, the last time that we got around this region was, late September, when Bitcoin was putting in a major low at $40,000 territory. The time before that was on the what technically was actually the low back in the May dumps. And before that, you can see that several of these higher lows within Bitcoin's macro uptrend did come along these same reads right here. Won't mark them off, but I'm sure that you can see for yourself. And are we there right now? No, we're not. So that is why I do think that Bitcoin can come a little bit further down here. We have technical targets, and we have Fibonacci retracements. And again, this is to be expected after a pretty much unabated $27,000 rally. Let me just make sure I did that right. We went from $40,000 to $67,000. Yes, $27,000 rally, unabated. I'm sure at some point, we're going to pop back down, scare the bejeebus out of everyone, and, well, very likely set in a higher low. At least that is my interpretation at first pass, and probably does lead into, a long-term opportunity. Speaking of long-term, what is making me so confident that this is not bearish here? It's the bi-monthly. The bi-monthly will be closing in a little bit less than 5 days. In fact, we can even curtail that a bit by looking at CME charts, which close a little bit sooner than that on Friday at, I believe, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, which will be closing a little bit less than about 2 days and 8 hours. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. Any sort of a close at all whatsoever above $56,000, and I will be looking towards major new highs before end of year. When I say major new highs, what sort of targets may we be interpreting here? Well, let's get out the old targets here. Again, we did hit our 1.272 target from about a couple weeks ago. The pullback there is to be expected. So if you have been following up on these videos, we've been speaking about this. We finally have gotten the conditions relevant for them, and now we go onwards and forwards. Anyways, the next target, probably coming in November, would be somewhere between $75,000 and $80,000. I think that things would stop there long term? No, absolutely not. Very rarely do I see tops within this region right here. Realistically, we're still looking at 6-digit Bitcoin. I don't necessarily say by end of year, but early Q1 2022 is what I'd postulate on that, after a bit of a consolidation between the 618 and the 414. Probably around end of this year, if I had to guess. Of course, we will follow up over this over time, but I wanted to address this because I'm sure that it's a question on many people's minds right now. And obviously that's going to play into all of the altcoin analysis that we've been putting out here. Now, like I said, we have hit most of our first targets on those videos that we put out. However, the long-term targets, this is always going to be a function of whatever Bitcoin does, of course. And hey, this is a good reminder as well that at the end of the day, this is just a game of statistics and probabilities as far as what I'm doing. So whatever I'm saying, whatever I'm doing, this is why I always put out invalidation conditions, as that is what essentially allows it to be, well, maintainable over time. So hopefully that's clear. I'm really, I really wanted to get on and do a quick little one about that. We can get back on with the altcoin videos tomorrow. I have some pretty cool ones lined up that I think you may be interested in. Again, be aware of the short-term invalidation conditions here, because there are a few things suggesting that we could potentially see a bear trap here. Again, not confirmed though until Bitcoin starts closing, even at 4-hour candlesticks above about $62,000. If that starts to happen, this will look, quote unquote good. If you want to be super conservative, you'd wait for a 63.5 or so. With that in mind, I'm going to be signing off now. I want to wish you well, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.